Good day and good evening, and welcome back to Fellowship with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. So, like 30 minutes ago, there was a sudden maintenance that apparently took like 20 minutes. So we're back. Like, thankfully, I guess, no surprise Yap stream, but that does mean we get to play the game that I actually intended to do, which is Fellowship. So, last week, I basically showed off Fellowship exclusively in a pre-made. So, me and 3 friends. And a lot of questions about Fellowship is like, what if I don't have friends to play with? What do I do then? Like, can I play it alone? And I have said, yes, you can. Definitely, absolutely. Go ahead. But I haven't actually done that on stream, so it's like me going, yeah, go ahead, try it, figure it out yourself. So this time, I'm going to be progging the Contender League alone. So solo queuing from the start, you could say. Last night, I did a bunch of quick plays to make sure that I have everything unlocked. Someone who's a little queasy about getting into the leagues and such would probably have done the same before they actually get into that, so that makes for a pretty reasonable starting point. By doing so, I also start with a pretty decent weapon. What I'm also going to do to like make the comparison somewhat real, while I have access to this better gear for being already having access or reached adept on my tanks, I will simply use the starting equipment that someone new to Contender would be using. And then we'll see if there's reason for me to like scale up beyond that. That might help pushing things along a little bit later, but a starting point to show how it'll feel to go into Contender alone. You can see I have a lot of supplies, so it should be fine. Also, hey Agent Monica, Sarah's, Fila, Cat and Ham, hope you're doing well. And yeah, if you did 16 quick plays, you should also have this kind of money. It's a little randomly assorted here. Hey Gazelle and Matthew, hope you're doing well. But that is indeed the starting plan. We don't have to buy a weapon because that one comes for free. And this then is our starting equipment. A little bit mishmash of stats. Doing lower deaths in rags isn't too bad. I'm sure it's not. It does seem like, like the more important thing is knowing what to do. We did eventually beat the Adept Empyrean Sands 1 on time. But we had to like actually know the fight to make that happen. Now our gremlin healer man here is ready to play. So the build I'm going with is pretty simple. It's pretty much like the cookie cutter straightforward one. And the simple explanation for those going why is that these 3 talent options are so good, as far as I know at least, that like there's a few other ones that are almost as good, but they're so good that like they almost feel like they are an integral part of the character. And the first one being Master of Triage, which essentially means that you now have some sort of passive healing going on, which you don't without it. Specifically as Vigor, as Sylvie, you have some passive healing as soon as you've set it up. It's not as passive as you might think, but it is pretty passive. Vigor then gets this. Alacricious healing, both means that you can spam greater heal more when you need to, but I'm pretty sure that crit chance also applies to the freebie heals from Master of Triage. And then Grand Design is where it gets really crazy. Soulbrand is an attack that is already pretty solid. You basically, when you don't have Grand Design, one thing you should be doing in a fight is just spreading dots on everything when you have time. Because it gives essentially quote-unquote free resource kickback, and because you have Master of Triage, generating resources itself, the act of generating a resource is good. So you want that. Rune of Renewal actually makes it so that your heals just generally generate runes as well, which again, good. And Luminous Barrier is basically for the Final Fantasy XIV gamers. Spread low is an option when you have Grand Design. At a small loss to the potency, but Luminous Barrier on a single person, unless it's like a tank taking a tank buster, is just... It's better to have the AoE version. And the fact that it applies it to 4 players at 60% power for double the cost means that you're getting like 2.4 times value is what you'd think. But as far as I understand, the buff effects related to rune generation, at least, on both Rune of Renewal and Soulbrand are full value. As in, Soulbrand here says that it costs 1 rune, but it gives you 30% of a rune over its duration. But if you Grand Design it, you put 4 60% damage potency Soulbrands on the enemies. But as far as I could tell, they each generate 30% of a rune, which means that a single Soulbrand costs 1 rune but gives a kickback of 0.3, whereas a Grand Design Soulbrand, assuming it hits 4 targets, it costs 2 but generates 1.2. So it's cheaper, like net cheaper. And because they generate all that, you will generate more resources, and that of course circles back to you get more resource generation, and the act of generating resources is good. As in, not only do you want the resources to spend, but gaining resources is good. Spreading 60% ad load certainly sounds kind of meh. Well, to be fair, about like 13-14k barrier is like 25% of my HP. It's decent. I think that's more than Consultation. Jose Brontom, hope you're doing well. Right. So, essentially, the game plan of Vigor is Radiant Blast on cooldown, generates resources, heals, does damage. It basically, this is SIs on a 10-second cooldown. It's just frontal cone instead of an AoE. You just spam it. You use it as much as you can. And if you have Radiant Blast, but Rune of Renewal is already active on your party members in front of you, then Radiant Blast will generate more resources because the healing, as far as I understand here, will then generate more runes. The only thing in the toolkit that doesn't generate runes by healing is Master of Triage, because it specifically says so. But the rest does. So that's like the game plan. We spam this. We want to use this when healing is needed. It's just boom. And if we have runes, then we can apply damage runes or maintain healing runes. And AoE Rune of Renewal, big burst healing. And if we see a mechanic incoming, Luminous Barrier for the burst barrier. Now the question is whether I can manage to do this correctly. That's a whole different story. What is quite interesting is when I was playing yesterday, Dawnbreaker Orb felt insanely stacked. But looking over guides from others and such, Dawnbreaker Orb supposedly is like kinda mid. Supposedly. And you don't really want to use them that much. But it was good for me yesterday. I don't know. Weird. But I guess we will see. Now, no more stalling. Let's see how long it takes us to find a game. So the way queuing works is that... oh yeah, true, the ninja pull orb. I did that a few times by accident. I tried to fix it by like running through the pack and then shooting the orb back where we came from. Sometimes that worked. Other times it meant I stood in front of a mob that cleaved. So not always perfect. Now the way queuing works is that it'll put you in a party of 4, then it'll look at like, well, what's your item level? And then it'll offer you 3 dungeon options. Hey Chase, hope you're doing well. And the dungeon options are based mainly on the item level of the party, so it will not offer you Cithral's Fall if the system does not believe that you're actually geared for Cithral's Fall. And Cithral's Fall is like the 3 boss dungeon that we did last week. It's like the exam to become adept at the game. But they will not offer that to you, I believe, unless your item level is 60. Which it is not. So we will see what happens when it actually... Oh, there it is. I will... Wait, what? That is a little jank. It didn't put us in a full party. I've seen that happen as well. Oh. We queue again. I've seen that happen in quick play as well, that it sometimes just janks it up and doesn't actually find a full... My guess is what happens is that maybe the game finds 2 groups. Someone left instantly. Oh, we were only 3, so one of them left instantly, I think. In my party chat, I can see that only 2 players joined. Now we have a full pre-made. I wonder how long it'll take before we actually get a match. Because I think that our tank left. Izaf, hope you're doing well. Can do any sort of combat while mounted? No. I know, right, Cat? I'm telling you, last night I had like waves of this happening, and then like waves of it just being fine. And then waves of like I sometimes also had like individual players that were just not good. But that's fine. So hopefully it'll eventually sort itself out, but I don't quite know what's happening when this happens. I believe this is also part of the reason why a lot of people like find players to go with. And then just queue with a pre-made, match-made group. But we'll see how well this works. We'll give it a solid try. Jesus, I don't want to play this at all unless I got my whole crew around. Understandable. I didn't have major issues with the randoms, but that was of course in quick play. Will we finally get to play the game? I think we will. Fantastic. So what you can do on a mount is you can pull things.
Twin souls unleashed.
Hey Jacob, hope you're doing well. And yeah, that is probably right. It's a little hard to get into. I sort of healed a little differently yesterday, so I also have to learn how to make better use of Grand Design. Because of the way things are unlocked initially, I have only had Grand Design for a little bit. I have to learn that. Chain pulling. But yeah, I get it. Because the dungeons are like demanding a lot more, it can be very scary to go with strangers. But I guess something to be said is that seeing that the strangers are not that amazing either might be a little bit of a like reassurance that there's not that much expected of you. Is chain pulling good or acceptable in this game? I mean, you can do it. Usually you just don't. Like, not saying you can't. Not saying whether you should or not. Basically just saying you can. It's not as front-loaded burst as it is in 14. So you could absolutely chain pull if you want to. Okay, hope you're doing well. And you can also, I can also add here that the tank here is not doing it optimally. Like, that's fine, but optimally you pull on the mount. You don't step off immediately just because you pulled something. But yeah, basically, it simply, you can chain pull if you want to. The main reason why you don't is because, like, rounding up mobs on a mount is usually better. Hey Robert, hope you're doing well. I have a talent called Grand Design that allows me to cast it as like a charged spell, which then makes it AoE. I can do the same thing with Soul Brand, and I should be doing that more, I just keep forgetting to. Book! Hey Nox, hope you're doing well. Oh boy. Are you sure that... I don't think that's the smartest move, but apparently we're going back to get 1%. Hey Ridlian, hope you're doing well. I'm not sure. The thing is, we could also just kill the boss and then we'd get the 1% from killing enough of that pack, and that would have been fine too. It's dungeons and more dungeons. Yeah, exactly. It's dungeons. The game.
Twin souls unbound. Tremble before my wrath.
Solid state right. It's Titan. Look, guys, it's Titan. Maul Skull at home. That's also a good one.
Behold the light!
Hey. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good starting relic. That Ilarion was something? Well... I have to start somewhere. We got some... Oh, we got another relic. That's a pretty good start, because it's really awkward when you don't have relics, because they always have special abilities. So you really want some relics with special abilities, because the bought ones never have anything. Hey, Bobamet. Hope you're doing well. There's dungeons with Where's the Dragons? Oh yeah, an interesting quirk about hopping finishing a league dungeon is that you'll get kicked out into the group you were just in. You can leave there, but basically if you have a solid group, you can just keep going. Hey Mia, hope you're doing well. And hey Cobalt, hope you're doing well as well. The difference is that this is like it's more like a hero shooter, or like generally it's more like one of those games where you like pick a character rather than a game where you like make a character, I should say. So I'm playing as Vigor, the character that happens to be a dwarf. Noctis, I miss playing a band. How does he work? He's kind of like a priest. Kind of like a paladin. Wow. I don't think there's a good equivalent from 14, but he has runes that he generates, and because of a talent I have, I heal people every time I generate a resource. So I'm basically like trying to cycle resources. But like optimally, I'm trying to cycle resources constantly to make that magic happen. A Blood Lily joke. Well, Vigor has this this ability called Soul Brand, which applies a dot, and that can be a little bit like energy drain. I prefer parties where all the DPS are melee. It's a lot easier to make my healing work good when that's the case. We're running low on MP, actually. The trick is the dot does extra damage if reapplied early. But it works like energy drain insofar that it spends your resource, like it spends your healing resource. There's the MP bar. It's under my character name in the party menu, I think, and also it's the blue bar on under my character here. One of the things that can make a fight like that really drag out is the water elementals cast heals. What is this? Back in WoW? Oh, this is gonna hurt. Imagine people interrupting, right? Wouldn't that be crazy? Oh, they interrupted this time, and I was here getting ready with a barrier and everything, expecting it to go through. Is it tap targeting or mouse over? Healing is mouse over. But it is tap targeting, aside from that. Hey Dragon Mo, hope you're doing well. This boss is pretty funny. It has a mechanic where you have to anchor yourself to that. Or you will die.
You stand before annihilation.
And that there interrupts if it hits while you're casting. Ooh, I managed to catch it right at the last moment. You can probably see how you die from that. Just get yoinked into the abyss and then you die. Oh, I'm actually out of MP now.
Evil, the light is with us.
Oh, never mind. Just don't be attracted to it. You just don't get yoinked by the siren song. SMH. We did as well, really, and you know, that is generally how you figure it out, is that you realize that you genuinely cannot survive it without doing something, and then you're like, wait a minute, you can interact with that thing. And then, there you go. Oops. Interruptions are cringe. But yeah, as it turns out, sometimes the way that you learn a boss is you get it wrong. That's just sometimes how it is. Which is also why it can be a little awkward when, when some dungeons are introduced with a time limit. Oh, no more mounting? I am wondering why that is such a thing. People just don't wanna... The tanks just don't wanna mount pull, feels like. Can't press defensive on a mount, that's true, but if you already have your defensive running, then you can just, like, you know, the classic, just kite Lamau. It's just funny because I've noticed so many do that, and it's specifically that in this case, the tank actually pulled initially mounted, and now they're just not mounting up again. Like that's what's confusing about it, is that they initially did it, and now they're just, like, they're not repeating that success for whatever reason. All the boxes and meters built into the game? Yes. No mods needed. The one-time use mount. Yeah. Just needed to get started. How do you feel about the meters being built in? I think it's for the best. Oh, they mounted up now. Because if they're built in, then you can assume everyone has the same information. I wish the water elemental was stunnable, because when it casts that healing water, it just heals to full.
Give me everything you got.
I have a stun. I don't have an interrupt. That's why. You can see how this fight is really dragging on, and I think it's because of the water elemental being there, just wasting our energy. How do you regain MP? Regen over time. There's a stat called Spirit that it gives you a higher and higher chance of your spells just being free.
Lightsaber's war.
And then you recover MP way faster when you're not in combat. And the campsites are basically checkpoints so that if you die, you'll go, like, you'll respawn there. So it can be really convenient if you're having trouble with a boss.
Closer hurt.
My God, imagine, hey, yeah, got any interrupts in there? Any interrupters in the chat? Oh, we missed some percent. I guess we'll have to go back for that. The one dungeon, yeah. So there's just this one dungeon, guys. Is the joke. They're going to die if they don't get closer together right now. You see, the trick there is don't heal them until they fix it. Then they'll eventually go, why am I dying? And then they'll go, oh, that's why I'm dying. And then they move. We hope and pray that that there isn't going to hit us. The Taric should probably have moved away. Because the Dispel leaves leaves goop on the floor. Like that. can't do anything because the Adios is too close, so I just have to hope that that isn't going to be a problem.
Light is with us! Hammer time!
Many wills. Strike as one.
Nice. Hey, Mandalore. Hope you're doing well. Do you have a favorite healer yet? Yes. I played Sylvie for like 1 or 2 dungeons. Then I played Vigor. And did 16 quick plays in a row because it was fun. No, I don't have a... What do you mean, a favorite? No. Oh, fantastic. A hat! Super early Sylvie shares something. Yeah, when I said that I had that experience, Sip also said to me, Sip, our healer and our pre-made, said, yeah, she's a little something when you don't have talents yet. Also, by the way, the hat has the beard on it. What happens if you don't have it equipped? He still has the beard, guys. Can you summarize their gameplay? Sylvie uses most of her GZDs on commanding her flutterflies around. Almost imagine, it's not quite that, it feels like that. It feels like, imagine your GZD is commanding Eos around, but you have 4 of them. And her main thing is healing over time. Vigor, on the other hand, is all him. But he has a barrier option, he has healing options, he has damage options, and it's all about cycling resources. Like these orbs, every time I gain one, I heal someone for a bit. So I want to spend them, so I have space to acquire more orbs. And then we just cycle that indefinitely. It's a little confusing, but basically Sylvie is a manager position, and Vigor is I do the work myself. Hey Orion, hope you're doing well. A hat! Dodge! Oh right, we should, did we get any rewards? No, we did not. It's a little further to the next reward. Didn't help that we got the same dungeon twice. The only dungeon in the game. I think Fellowship is very fun, Orion, so hopefully you will think that it is interesting to see as well. If you're like, well, I'd like to see some other PoV as well. I played Tank all on stream last week. But it was already the pre-made. And the first stream had a lot of server issues, but the second one, the Friday one, was fine. Is saying trying Sylvie first would be a bad idea? No. No. In fact, what's really strange is that between the two, Sylvie probably feels safer to try first. Because with Vigor, if you suddenly panic, then everyone dies. Like, straight up, everyone will just die. Because if you're not doing anything, then nothing is happening. While with Sylvie, as long as your flutterflies are out and doing stuff, you going, it doesn't mean that it is an immediate wipe scenario. So it feels safer. There's also the part that Vigor feels very rough when you don't have Master of Triage, which you do not start with. Hey, Cold Kishi, hope you're doing well. I'm enjoying Fellowship very much. I just haven't had enough time to play it. Is really the problem. Someone interrupted the heal. Is this tank actually? Is it the tank or is someone else being mega hype right now? Yeah, both of my tanks are an adept as well. Oh. Oh. Wait, where did all my... Oh, because of the chain pulling. Which tank do you prefer? Week 1, I just played Helena a bunch, and then I tried Mako off-stream. I much prefer Mako, but it could be that the reason is associated with some of the problems that got resolved today. This guy is straight up going to die if he just keeps pulling forever. What problems? Helena, according to a lot of people, said that she was significantly squishier. That's also why the patch today is like small threat buffs to Mako, and then it's just mega buffs for Helena. It's because Mako had a defensive advantage. Are the raid-wide damage buffs? No. There are, in fact, not. Yeah, I enjoy both of the tanks. It's just that I initially played Helena and then I, off-stream, put a lot of effort into catching Mako up, and when I finally did, I preferred her when it really came to it. Are you targeting as healer? You mouse over allies to choose them to heal. Enemies, you tap target as normal. You just park your cursor over whoever you want to heal, and that's that. I believe you can turn it off if you don't want it, but I can't imagine why you do that. Oh, that's convenient. The two melees got tethered together. Woe is me. You have to be closer together. What a shame. Oh, that looks a little jank. I'm sure this works, sure. Sure. Yep. my chain is up there, guys. It just works. It just works.
Offense is the greatest defense.
Oh, whoops. For some reason, I thought it was the other DPS. Look at these gamers stacking up because they can see damage is incoming, so AoE healing. You play any of the betas? I played the open beta a month ago. Right. Cobalt says, I wish I could see your pointer to get an idea of how much you have to move your mouse around. Let me put it like this, Cobalt. My cursor is on the screen. It's actually something that I checked in the game suggestions on their Discord. There's like half a dozen suggestions of, can you do it? Oh no, Crab Galaxy is Cobalt. Can you do it so that we can change something about the cursor? Can we make it bigger? Can we change the color? Can we do something? Because it's really hard to find it with all this stuff happening. It's okay, Cobalt. We have Cobalt and Cobalt. It's okay. I mean, it is a suggestion, and I checked because I had the same suggestion. It's really hard to see. Hey Rust, hope you're doing well. They have had a maintenance since then, Rust. Like an hour, just like an hour and a half ago, they had a quick maintenance that should have helped. And I had some issues here where, like, the first few dungeons it didn't really work, but it works now. Anyway, I will be right back, and then we will continue this farm. In fact, I think after the break, we will probably buy some gear to, like, push our item level a little bit. Anyway. In the meantime, manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. Cole says, do you queue with viewers? Tonight, I'm just queuing with, queuing solo queue to see how what that's like. However, as some of you know, I do like weekly mentor roulettes in Final Fantasy XIV, and there I specifically announce in a little bit in advance when I'm going to queue, so that those that wanna try to can try and queue into me. For better or worse. For the memes and everything. Sometimes people try to queue me into harder duties and such, and sometimes it works. Usually it doesn't, and other times they just land there to help me. Oh, sorry about that, Cobalt. I'll repeat it. The thing is, I'm not sure who, how the whole ad situation goes. Can you hear me now? Also, hey Ardo, hope you're doing well. Tonight, this stream is specifically solo queue. Like, the specific purpose of this stream is to try and see how it is to queue alone. That is the specific intent of this stream. So in this specific instance, there's no, like, me queuing with anyone specifically. I might stay in a group if they queue quickly, otherwise I'm just gonna leave and queue again on my own. I'm not gonna be a jerk about it. As we did earlier, someone queued while I was sorting inventory stuff. But on Tuesdays, typically, I stream Mentor Roulette in Final Fantasy XIV, and there I announce in advance when I'm going to queue, so people have a chance to queue into me deliberately. Like, it's encouraged, in fact, if you think it would be funny. And in the same way, if you happen to land in a dungeon with me here now, I'm not gonna be mad about it. You just do that. Go ahead. Maybe later down the line, I'll do a set where we're like bringing people, like we're like making groups. But right now we're testing this. Now, on a different note, I will buy some high item level gear basically to push it along so that we get somewhere more interesting instead of just doing Sailor's Abyss 4 all evening. Or until we get enough gear. Essentially, this would be possible eventually. So I'm basically just skipping some stuff because I have the resources to do that. But it does seem like it is mostly fine to just queue with item level 15. So someone going straight from quick play into Contender should be pretty fine. Pretty good. Which I think is really important, because that is something some people have been worried about. That, well, what do I do if people just leave on sight when they see me because I'm not geared enough or whatever? Which is a perfectly understandable concern. So here we go. Then we can use some money to upgrade the gear we actually got. We'll probably jump quite a lot, because it's very possible that my item level has climbed all the way to the point where we can land in Cithral's Fall, and then I'll suddenly have to contend with that problem. And yeah, it's perfectly understandable, Cobalt. I do too. I do like to help people. It's actually really nice that we, like, well, to be fair, one of the relics I got is, like, it heals me. That's really annoying, Rust. I don't know why that is happening. That really sucks. I think I've heard some say that it can be related to VPN, but I don't know if it's related to whether it's yes or no VPN, and that, of course, itself can cause problems. Anyway, now that we have suddenly gained, like, 35 item levels, I think, if not 45 item levels. We go in again and see what happens. Oh, yep, Sisrol's Fall is right there. I'm waiting to see what others are picking. But I'll pick the one that the others want. I have only tanked this. So I don't know how other people... the only other POV I've seen of this is I've seen Hamish, community director, do it. But he also plays Mako tank, so... Also, the double Ilarion. Fun, fun, fun. Where are they? Let me just place myself in the back. It went pretty well. I think I've done a similar pull myself. So, as tank, so... Uh-oh. I got a little surprised there and I didn't manage to heal myself in time. The monk might be, the Mako monk might be fine to, like, just hold on until we come back. Something needed to be interrupted there. Hey Dobbs, hope you're doing well. You'd think the Ilarions did more damage the further away they are. Just based on how they position themselves. I was holding my stun in case our tank needed help with the interrupts, because I see the corruptors are interruptible. Exactly, Dubs. The big problem is, based on what our tank is saying, it sounds like our DPS are not interrupting as well as they should.
Gaze upon eternity. My purposes transcends your ambitions.
Yowzers. And I annihilate the human cough. Uh-oh. I see the problem.
Annihilate the human cough. My purposes transcends your ambitions. Behold the light! Reverberation commences your doom. Annihilate the human cough. My purposes transcends your ambitions. Order! Integrity of barrier failing.
Nice. Yeah, I do the same, Dubs. Like, when I tank it, I usually prioritize the sentinels quite highly, to the best of my ability. Oh boy. Hey, Brother Bear! Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you're all doing well. We're playing some Fellowship. And this is my first go at Cithral's Fall as a healer. In here for fellow Vigo. Thank you so much. Oh boy. Looks like the Shadow Shield got through.
Twilight protects me. Twilight shrouds me.
How am I finding the game so far? I enjoy it very much. I just haven't had enough time to play it. Is really the problem. Oh, this is going to be rough.
Twin souls, unleashed! Many wolves strike as one!
Yeah, that's also what I said, Brother Bear, is that I felt like Vigor had more ability to like adjust on the fly based on what the team needs. Then, in my opinion, that's how it felt. Where Sylvie felt more like the planning one. Kind of need to know what you're doing before you start. But she also feels more forgiving when you're just starting. If you have a team that isn't going to do completely insane.
Terrace is already drenched in the blood of the unworthy.
The cosmos gazes upon you.
Enough!
Twilight watches over me.
There is nowhere to hide! Eldrin! Prove your loyalty! Enough!
Light Shaper's war.
Uh-oh.
Twilight shroud.
I saw that wrong.
Enough!
Oh, whoa. She went a little further this time.
There is nowhere to hide! Enough!
She keeps saying I think it's a she, but they keep going enough, and then it isn't enough apparently. Hey Shaq, hope you're doing well.
I may fall, but the we will command dragons. We will
Hey Loud
reign
Pedal, hope you're doing well.
again.
A little bit, yeah. Kind of like that, I think, Loud Pedal. I don't know if it's like Dauntless necessarily, but it's basically Dungeons, the game. Very much Mythic Plus style. Wow. Ah. A single key appearance change. All of the equipment changes your appearance. You just have to turn off the setting where it just uses the default look, which is off by default, I'm pretty sure, but it's very easy to accidentally turn it on. But no, all the gear has appearance changes. It's just there's not that many unique pieces of equipment, but you can see my character doesn't look like regular Vigor, right? I have the outfit has changed because I have other gear on. But that is something that I've heard a lot of people be confused about. So, whoa. That was a quite sudden death.
Twin seas, unbound.
Twilight protector.
It's really hard to kill these when... Yeah, I can't do that. Healing just as enjoyable as in WoW? I think it's really fun. The game is not broken at all. Just ignore all the gestures wildly. There's a lot of it's early access. Hey Lana, hope you're doing well.
Twilight watches over. Twilight towards me.
Oh, the tank left. Fantastic. This could have been fine, but the tank left. Yeah, unfortunately there isn't at least not yet, there isn't a feature to replace people. So the tank leaving basically means over. Did the tank just randomly leave because you mentioned interrupt? No, Nox. Actually, the tank left because they were fed up with the fact that none of the DPS were interrupting enough. Yeah, I feel like we could have probably made it with, like we might not have made the timer if we had to learn all that now. But we could have beaten it. April on team, hope you're doing well. Me am DPS, me no utility. Me smork. Is there a visual indicator for what things can be interrupted, says Nat? Yes. If something can be interrupted, it has a bright yellow cast bar. Hey, go. Hope you're doing well.
Twilight watches over. Twilight protects.
There's something incredibly funny about both of the Ilarians using their defensive cooldown after the dot is over. Hey, Nuclear. Hope you're doing well. Imagine communicating in my cooperative game, right? Wouldn't that be weird? Uh-oh. It's an interesting way to pull this room, but I guess our healer has a plan. Oh, sorry, our tank has a plan. I'm the healer. Hopefully I have a plan. The synchronized ult. I think we stand before annihilation, guys.
My purposes transcends your ambitions. Annihilate the human growth. My purposes transcends your ambitions.
Twilight shields me. Twilight shrouds me.
Twilight sure does a lot of things to these guys. What? Did he have a debuff?
My purposes transcends your ambitions. Reverberation commences.
The light envelops us.
My purposes transcends your ambitions.
Yeah, I don't think we needed to do all that. Suddenly I was very, very dumb. Maybe. Never mind. Hey Neo, hope you're doing well. Everyone turned into sparkly pancakes.
Retreat to retain existence. Annihilate the human growth. Annihilate the human growth.
Twilight shields me. Twilight shrouds me.
Reverberation commences your doom.
Oh boy. Well, I'm frozen. I should have dispelled myself, but too many things all at once.
My purposes transcends your ambitions. Annihilate the human growth.
Light is with us.
I forgot it again.
Twilight watches over me.
Annihilate the human growth.
Woo.
Reverberation commences your doom.
Oh boy.
Annihilate the human growth. My purposes transcends your ambitions. Integrity of barrier failing.
Last time felt a lot easier. That's an interesting... Nope, that didn't quite work. Ugh. I keep getting tripped up by the charge thing. You really have to make sure that the GCD is over before you try and charge, otherwise it doesn't work. Well, you know what? It's not too bad. This was the pull that the tank left, the other tank left on last time. So maybe getting this one again just out of the way might be for the best. I play on EU, yes.
Strike as one.
Twilight shroud. Twilight protects me.
Probably we could, Brother Bear. That could be fun. Although that'll be a problem if we're both ending up playing the same role. I'm like 99% certain that that's a spread, not a stack. Oh, that's an interesting move. What I find really interesting about this tank is that they're doing some crazy jumps. And they're not doing like huge pulls or anything. Oh, that's correct, Shaq. It's because this is Cithral's Fall, which is it's like one of the, I would call them almost like the exam dungeons. So there's 3 bosses instead of just 1. That is the reason. That's also why the timer is way, way longer. Thank you, Brother Bear. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
This terrace is already drenched in the blood of the unworthy.
Void between stars.
Enough!
Twilight shroud.
There is nowhere to hide! Eldrin! Prove your loyalty! Enough!
Light Shaper's Ward!
Twilight sword.
I should be single targeting the Sentinel when I have time. That is a better move. Uh-oh, I think the tank's gonna get yip.
Enough! There is nowhere to hide!
It's Ellie, hope you're doing well. This is the second try at Cithral's Fall. Last time we were almost in the clear and then we had trouble with a specific pack. We have already cleared that pack this time, but we're taking a completely different path. Yeah, I don't know what they expected. But because we failed the same pack twice in a row due to our DPS not being the most smart about interrupting, the tank left, and there is no replacement system in this game for multiple reasons. So it just means it was over when that happened. But this second try, hopefully we have it. I don't know if we'll time it, but we might, because the last boss is coming up here now. We have 4 minutes.
Annihilation! Gaze upon the void between stars!
I should really had set up the barrier first there. I just didn't. It's really a tight one there to make that.
The light is with us.
Twilight watches over me.
Why does he have 2 stacks? Woo! We made it! Hey Bokaj, hope you're doing well. And Cardi, hope you're doing well as well. Easy. Easy, Lamau. You know, the funny thing is, I wasn't even expecting to clear Zithral's Fall tonight. This looks weird. Hmm. The only good stacks are pancakes or waffles. The stacks we have here hurt, that's for certain. This might not look as exciting, but this is actually pretty big, because then we have the better version of that relic.
Time for a little razzle-dazzle.
A little razzle-dazzle. I get what you mean, Bokaj. I also just personally, I feel like WoW's design works better for the kind of dungeons that they're going for. If we apply the herdy stacks. Whew, either way, that boss there at the end suddenly got quite scary. I think we could get something good by just doing this. Let's try. Sure. I hadn't quite expected it to downgrade an item level again, but okay. The mine dungeon with the wall boss has the most 14-like feel and is my favorite dungeon because of that. Right, Godfall Quarry. Yeah, the one where we joke that the final boss is actually Titan. Or Maul Skull. You choose. So a particular issue that I run into by solo queuing is that most players will just, when you queue, they will always pick the furthest to the right dungeon, which means if you have high item level, you will be offered Sithral's Fall in Contender. And if you have a lower item level, you'll be offered something else. But it might be really hard to set your item level in such a perfect state where you can get all 8 of these dungeons rated. And I don't know what, I haven't seen anyone ever pick anything but the furthest to the right, which would be the highest level dungeon. So that does make it a bit awkward. The way you come around that, how you solve that potential problem is that when you get booted out of a dungeon after doing it, you're left in the party you had. Guaranteed. So if people stay, then you can go, by the way, guys, I would is anyone up for doing this? You could also, you can, you're in a town here, there are some people here, you could try and ask them. There's also the Discord has LFG rooms. Neo says, you know what's funny? I was pugging and trying to go for a Sithrall 7, and we ended up going to Silken Hollow 6. That is surprising. Well, a little bit surprising. Not super surprising, but a little surprising. Just based on what I've seen. It's a little surprising. So I'm guessing we're going to land in Sithral's Fall if I queue again. But yeah, for those that have not done Sithral's Fall, those that have not done, maybe not even played Fellowship, the things that made the dungeon so tough is that there were some spells that weren't getting interrupted as frequently as they maybe should. There's also a possibility that the team might be able to do more DPS than they did. So, there's some things that were harder than they maybe should. That also includes me, by the way. I could probably have done better if I was better. But some specific mobs have some particularly brutal mechanics. The scholars do this thing where a huge pink rune appears on the floor. And if you don't interrupt that, they just burst AoE damage until you do, or until the cast ends. And one of those can probably overwhelm and kill you just on its own, no problem. So it has to be interrupted. But by design, basically you need one person dedicated interrupting that guy to make sure it doesn't go through. The tank can do it. They have the shortest interrupt cooldown, so they can do it pretty consistently if you want to, but then they don't have the interrupt for anything else because they have to hold it for that. Simultaneously, the corruptors, which were in some packs, use Drain Life, which is basically the same thing. It's just instead of it being a big rune on the floor, he just channels a beam on everyone. But it has a cast time before it starts, so it's a little bit more lenient there instead of just starting immediately. And the Drain Life, of course, heals him. So if you don't do it, then you will never kill him, and he will just kill you instead. And that means that if there's a pack with both a Scholar and a Corruptor in it, which was what just stopped us clean the first time we went into Sithral's Fall. It was the same 2 DPS, by the way, so they grew. Then you need a dedicated person interrupting each thing. So if only the tank is interrupting, for instance, which can happen. Most of my quick plays, it has only been the tank interrupting, if anyone. And if I was tank doing a quick play, I was the one interrupting and no one else. So, like, Sister's Fall in that specific aspect really puts you to the test in that you cannot beat these packs if there's only one guy interrupting. And then there's also the Sentinels, which are in some of the packs. They're not as brutal, but they can severely extend a pull if you don't interrupt them, because they just put a barrier on people. So if you don't interrupt their thing, then it extends the pull as well. And sometimes there's a pull with a Scholar and 2 Sentinels. 3 things that need to be interrupted, and you have exactly 3 people that can interrupt. So each person has to basically say, I take that one, I take that one. Or you just have to eat it. Most of these enemies can also be stunned or otherwise interrupted. For instance, I have a book that I can throw, and that stuns. Just, you know, just short enough that I can technically interrupt something once every 30 seconds, which is slower than all interrupts. And I can't indicate that I have an interrupt, whereas DPS and tanks can. Like, put their name, or put their face next to a mob and be like, I'm interrupting that one. I can't do that because I technically don't have an interrupt. Not really. Hey, MULs, hope you're doing well. And then, when all of it culminates in a single pack, you might just be straight up screwed if, like, half of your party is not playing ball. And some of these things just result in me having a lot of things to do. There's also the part that the ice shardlings, like the mini baby golems, when they die, they apply a dot to everyone, and they stack as many times as there are shardlings if you kill them in quick succession. And the golems, the slightly bigger ones, they turn into 3 shardlings. So sometimes you'll see a tank pull 2 of those. Those golems will die together. And then there's 6 shardlings, and they all die together. And 6 stacks of that dot requires healing to survive. And then if you have that dot and other stuff to be fought as well, suddenly it gets really, really scary as the healer. And while, yes, I do have AoE healing options, I have 2 things on cooldowns, and then I have 1 thing with a cast time and a resource cost. So, well, technically I have a second one that can be used instantly. I'm pretty sure that, that one is very complicated. I don't actually know if it's better to just send the Dawnbreaker Orb in that context. It might heal for more. How much does that heal for? Ooh. Like 8,000? It basically heals for the same, so in that specific context, it kind of depends on whether I want to refresh the renewal. And that's true, Neo. What sometimes works is if someone has the Mass Dispel Relic, but I don't have it. And based on the fact that no one else did it, I'm assuming no one in our party had it. So that was what we call a big oof. Anyway, I'll be right back, and then we will queue again and see where we land. In the meantime, Manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. Nuclear says, I have a book is such a funny thing to say as a combat mechanic. It is! There's something really... I remember when Sip mentioned that he had the ability to throw the book, and I didn't know about this ability. I was like, you what? Sure! Why not? Throw the book, then. Like, this guy's entire toolkit is like... Actually, like, if you actually read through this, nearly all of his buttons have, like, a flavor text that is like, oh, Vigor inscribes a searing rune onto the soul of his enemy, infusing it with radiant energy. The rune pulses painfully, steadily draining their life force while fueling Vigor's power. And then he also just has throw book. Like, like, one of these things are not like the other. And it's his entire toolkit is all this, like, holy, radiant magic. He can levitate. He can make magical barriers, and then he can throw book. So does a stun interrupt if they keep casting after the stun of 2 seconds? Based on what I've seen... you know how some enemies will just spam, like, I don't know, like... For instance, the Corruptor spams Ice Bolt, and then at some point you'll start casting Drain Life. And if you interrupt him, he'll stop, wait a bit, and then cast Ice Bolt again. If you stun a spammed cast like Ice Bolt, they'll just go back to spamming Ice Bolt after the stun. But if you stun a cast that happens every so often, then they'll basically miss the window and then they'll try again a bit later. So, like, it'll be effectively an interrupt if you stun something that isn't a spammed mechanic, as far as I can see. The key thing to keep in mind is that some things, or some enemies are just not stunnable. So sometimes it just doesn't work at all. I think... Oh, that's funny. I think we will just stay in Contender. I would like to have more gear. Slightly better... slightly more gear to work with. In fact, I should probably upgrade these blue items a little bit more before I go in again for the extra power that provides. I'd like a little bit more item before I go solo into Adept. And I could easily get more upgrades from Citadels Fall. If I get a weapon with an ability on it, that would be fantastic. And if I could also get more dungeon rating. Like, I'm essentially a talent point short right now. Because I don't have any rating. I need nearly 300 rating to get a point. Is anyone surprised? I think solo queue has been mostly fine. There's been a little bit of jank, and there's been some DPS that didn't interrupt super smartly. But this works. This works. I could manage that. Bruh. Yeah, so the third player asked in the chat, someone first time here, then the other DPS said me. And then he just instantly, the guy asked me just instantly left. That's definitely what we call not chat energy. I understand that there can definitely be groups there that'll be really awkward with a first-timer, but how in the world are you going to get more non-first-timers by refusing to do content with first-timers? Exactly, Neo. That's what's gonna happen. If the response to saying yes and admitting being a first-timer is people leaving, then people will stop being honest about it. That's a terrible idea. Better to just say it. To just own it. If you ask, then you have to let the first-timer actually try. Otherwise, next time they will not be so nice as to admit it. That's a terrible idea. I should have thought about building some resources for this pull.
Twilight shields me. My shield is an iron.
Is that 17 stacks? What? Hey, Kakarago. Hope you're doing well. I mean, it was probably worth it. That's really funny. We've died to 6 or 7 stacks of that, by the way.
Twilight shields me.
Oh boy, this is not fun for me. Oh, never mind. They just barely waited for the stack to drop. Hey, Jerky, hope you're doing well. And yeah, I agree, that's what I mean. Even if it wasn't the first month or even first week, I'm still like, how impatient are you, mate? But yeah, genuinely, that's how it's gonna be. If people do this move where they're like any first-timers and then the response is just insta-leave if the answer is yes, it'll just be that the meta is never say yes. Or better, I'm sure some will start saying yes, even if they're not, just to like jank it up, so that people feel like they have to leave all the time. Because every group I have is a first timer, because someone will fake it just to mess with them. Like that I think that would be a pretty funny move.
No mercy! Winter, protect me!
I could totally see myself do that one day. If like people start doing that as the norm. Just start saying, yeah. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, I'm a first timer. They leave. Well, I wasn't, but I didn't want them to have that, so I didn't want to play with them. Exactly, Cat. Precisely. Lie about being a first timer so that the toxic players don't get to play. Annihilate the human cough.
Frost, shield me.
Twilight
Annihilate the human cough. Reverberation commences your doom. Annihilate the human cough.
Frost, protect me.
Oh, nice. What a gamer. Did you see that? Ilarion just rolling in from Narnia to grab the soak that needed to happen.
War!
I love this new thing that YouTube is doing. Did I catch it fast enough? Is the YouTube stream all right? Are we good?
Twilight shield.
Yeah, on my end it said that a connection cut for a second. I had to restart it myself. In the middle of a poll, by the way. don't think we need to heal right now. No, I think we're fine. You do have to be careful when the pull properly starts, though. Ooh, that's very big.
Light Shaper's war!
Bear witness to winter's wrath!
I will not give up. Twilight watches you.
That's what we call a very, very large pull. Wow.
This terrace is already drenched in the blood of the unworthy. Enough!
Barriers are fun.
There is nowhere to hide!
Shield me!
Twilight shield gaze upon the void between stars.
Eldrin, prove your loyalty! Enough!
Twilight ward.
Good to hear, Russ. Hopefully you actually get to play the game now.
Hold up!
Enough! There is nowhere to hide!
Frost, protect me!
Which character did you play, Russ?
I may fall, but the we will command dragons. We will reign again.
Echo. Nice. Oh, what happened there? I didn't see what they suddenly took so much. Uh-oh. should not have overcharged that one. That was just silly.
Twilight watches over me.
Oh yeah, the chickenizer. Fantastic. You thought it was an elven mage. Actually, it's a big chicken. You saw wrong. It was actually a chicken in that party lineup all along.
Die raw!
I will not give up. Hold me back. Gaze upon eternity.
Frostward!
I should just... I don't know how I'm supposed to stop that with a barrier, because it happens too quickly. I'm assuming I'm not meant to. But I really wish I was able to.
Lightshaber's war!
Twilight watches over me.
Frost! Shield me!
And Phillips us!
Nice. You know, Matthew, that is an excellent point. There are timers on the right. just read them. Oh. Yeah, that would probably help. I get so caught up in it that I completely forget that there's like boss timers right there. You know what the funniest thing is? That if someone wrote in the chat, she's doing the thing in 5 seconds, I would probably see that first. Oh boy. Hey, we're back. Rigoros, do I have chat? And the solo queue has been pretty fine cool. There's been two things. One is that the first run I had of Cithral's Fall, we got to like the very last bit, and then the pack with a Corruptor and a Scholar wiped us twice, because based on what was being said, it seemed like the DPS were not interrupting very well. And the second time, the tank straight up left. And since there's nothing you can do if they leave, that was just oof. But we've timed it twice in a row since then, so... Let's try this one. Give me something I don't have. Yep, sure. In retrospect, I should have used the triple one to try and specifically roll a weapon. But that's been fine, actually. It's been pretty fine. We also had another Cithral's Fall run where we queued in. Someone asked in the chat immediately, any first-timers? It was a DPS that asked. The other DPS just said yes. And then the first DPS that asked immediately left. And then as we went back in, we went on a little bit of a discussion about the fact that if that's how you do it, then what's going to happen is that the first-timers will no longer admit to being first-timers. And that's going to be... I mean, it's going to be a problem. Because if you're going to do the dungeon, you would rather know that there's a first time, so you're like, okay, be aware of these things. Whereas if they never admit to it, then how will you ever know? But aside from that, it's been pretty good. We also had a little of a rough start where the queue placed me in groups where there were people missing. But yeah, pro tip. If you're going to ask if there's any first-timers, if they say yes, it's a bad idea if your first move is to leave, because you're just gonna teach them to never say yes. Wow. That was a... Maybe it was a... I'm guessing it was a misclick. I've done that too. Leaving immediately at the start isn't that bad. No. The problem isn't that they left immediately. Actually, I would prefer that if they were going to chicken out like that, better they do it immediately. Rather than like after we've already invested 20 minutes like the tank did. But... it's more like it's going to teach players the wrong lesson, if that makes sense. If you're basically you're using the goodwill, you're basically just throwing goodwill in the fire. People will learn. Never say yes when you're asked if there's any first-timers. And that's going to be a problem. But yeah, if you're gonna leave based on that, better you do it early. I'm just saying that it's gonna work a limited amount of times, and when it stops working, then we will have new problems. If they want the game to be queuable, it needs to have a lever buster though, but also it needs to be stable. Yeah. That was actually what I was worried about when people started talking about punishment for levers, was sometimes the game just janks up and like there wasn't actually a lever. The game just didn't work. And you can't really have a lever buster in any way like that until the game works consistently. Because it would be a huge problem if people start getting punished when they didn't actually do anything. It wasn't their fault. Tips for Vigor? When you don't have grand design, Orb is good. Surprisingly good. When you have grand design, sometimes spending some runes just to make sure that your Rune of Renewal stays active on everyone is worth. And Soulbrand is better than you'd think, because it generates runes. Also, Master of Triage, get Master of Triage. If you haven't picked the Master of Triage talent, you should change that immediately. As in my opinion, you shouldn't be playing Vigor without that talent. It suddenly makes things that feel very hard, very easy. Those are my main starting tips. But it will never quite replace actual experience. Oh, that is an evil one, Cole. Wow. Oh yeah, well you left a few times. You don't get loot next time. You have to rebuild your honor. You're forced to go into the quick play mines to rebuild your goodwill. And you have to play with that rando tank that pulls one pack at a time. Very slowly. Are we admiring the pack? Oh, okay. It's a very pretty pack, admittedly. The problem is then people will try to make someone else leave first. Yeah, there will be ways people will try to find to avoid it. I mean, that's where, like, when that person that that left over those shenanigans, people in the party just said, just report them. Just report them. Which, I mean, if that works and that actually leads to punishment, then that's also an option. If people try to then instead try to fish for someone else to leave, you just report them. Book! Probably waiting on jumper buffs. That could be the case. I've just, as someone who has played Maker quite a lot, I've never done that. My experience of Sylvie, maybe it is like because I haven't played her enough, but my experience of her was that she felt a lot worse when you get overwhelmed, where Vigor has enough options that you can do something. But at baseline, I would say Sylvie is probably feels like the more forgiving of the two.
This looks the best you can
So, what I'm seeing here is that our tech is pretty good. People are interrupting and everything, but it feels like our DPS is kind of low. They might have had trouble dealing with the two-target specific situation. Put a dot on with AoE. Grand Design is a very fun talent. When you can get it, you should get it. But you have to play a few matches before you can actually get it, because it's like a 3-point talent.
Enough! There is nowhere to hide! Eldrin, prove your loyalty! Enough! Enough!
Oh boy.
Winter, protect me!
There is nowhere to hide! Enough! With us!
I didn't need to do that. Why does this sound... What is the voice saying? Enough remind me of Vorthree? I think it's because Vorthree says something similar.
We will reign again.
Apparently one of our players had the combat res item. Or relic. I'm very surprised that we're going this way around, because this means that we're probably doing the golem boss either second or last. Which in... well, I guess second then. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean, Cole. We didn't have any problems making the timer going golem first routes, but I would just prefer to do it first because the Golem is the harder boss. It's possible this tank feels like that boss on the left is the harder one, so they start with that. I don't know.
Twin sword, unleashed. Frost, shield me.
Good luck, Zaf. The patch came out this morning, or after this noon, Cole. I do, however, still see a lot more Mako than Helena, I feel. Oh. When you do the accidental butt pull, you hit him with the sorry. The frame one sorry. Yeah, the way when I described the differences between Helena and Mako, one of the things that I focused on was that I said, well, with Helena, if you're panicking, it doesn't actually matter. As long as you're pressing something, you're still progressing. Like, you're still becoming, like, you're surviving better than if you're not pressing something. Whereas with Mako, if you're just tail spinning, you might be in trouble. And I've definitely had that on Mako. Like, you're just fumbling the buttons, and you're just taking damage while you're trying to remember how to play the game. And I would say that there's something to be said. There's a little bit of similar stuff between Vigor and Sylvie, where as long as you've set up your stuff, then you panicking on Sylvie, you're not completely stopped in your tracks. Whereas with Vigor, if you stop doing something and people are dying, well, now people will absolutely die because you stopped healing.
transcends your ambitions. Reverberation commences your doom. My purposes transcends your ambitions.
Nice.
My purposes transcends your ambitions.
Oh, whoops.
Control the light! Annihilate the human growth.
Twin souls. Unbound. Frost.
My purposes transcends your ambitions.
I think that was me both times.
Reverberation commences your doom. My purposes transcends your ambitions. Integrity of barrier failing.
If she needs to kite, it's much easier. Oh, that is interesting. Because I could totally see that be a thing in like really high Eternal. The stupid orbs. I wish they had like a nameplate or something so they didn't fall in with the background like they do.
Protect me!
Tank is overpopulated in quick play NA. That is new. I don't think I've seen that before. It's pretty much never overpopulated with tanks anywhere. Oh, that's a scary maneuver. The shardlings. And the drain life. Well, at least the team seems mostly undaunted, huh? Just keeps going. When you think that the pull is over, but it's not.
Light Shaper's War!
She'll get around to us eventually.
Light Shaper's War! Behold the light! Give me everything you've got!
Nice. With 2.5 minutes remaining. Hey. Matthew says, "I want to play tank, so you don't get one who does 200% count in single pulls." I will say I've seen some interesting pulls in the quick play. By which I mean, it's perfectly doable. It's just really funny to see the 2 to 3 pull single boss dungeon. Just off rip. Like, my first dungeon as Vigor was Empyrean Sands, where someone pulled basically all the way up to the first campfire in an instant. And I was just sitting there like, oh, okay then. And we somehow lived it, so, you know, no notes, no complaints, because, like, it was possible, right? It was doable. But scary start. Let's see if we can do something with this pull. What does this do? Oh, I want this. See if we can get a weapon. Weapon, please. Yeah, quick play, true. You signed up for quick play. Now, this is around the time where we normally wrap it up, so I would like to give some notes, some observations from solo queuing then before we completely round it off. My experience was that, just to go from start to finish, is that initially we queued a few times and the queuing system itself is still a little jank. So sometimes it'll just dump you in a dungeon with like no tank, or no, like you're missing a DPS or something, and it's like, well, then you just have to go out and try again, right? Sometimes you'll also just have someone who leaves early. Not much you can do about that. At present, there straight up is no replacement feature in the game. And I don't believe there is any punishment for leaving at the moment. So, aside from the possibility that someone might report you, and I don't know what that does, but there isn't a built-in punishment for leaving. So some people will leave based on whatever. I've heard some be like, well, I'm trying to queue and I want, like, I don't know, Stormwatch specifically, but it is never the one people choose, so I can't get dungeon rating for, like, case in point, I would have liked to have a little bit more variety. We've gotten 3 different dungeons in these 3 hours. And I could see that. Some would then just go, well, people are not voting for the dungeon I want, so I'm just gonna dip immediately, instead of sitting through it. And you could go, well, just sit through it, you'll get it on the next one. You won't. Like, you'll queue again, and everyone will choose the furthest to the right. That's apparently the queuing meta at present. The way you go about getting the dungeon you want, I think, is try and ask around in the stronghold. Be like, I would like to do this. Even better option would be go to the Discord, the official Discord. There are LFG channels for every league, so you could possibly find some people that also would be perfectly up for just like running through all of the contender, like highest difficulty contender ones for some dungeon rating, to like make a start on that. Or, you know, get friends who gave Ikai a Flutterfly. That is a fantastic question. The last thing is, of course, that Exactly, that is pretty much the play for solo queuers, is find people to run with to get those get that dungeon rating going. It doesn't seem like this is really the case, but maybe it gets better at higher leagues. That maybe you'll find some really good players, and maybe you can add those for future play or something. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be super much the case on Contender, at least. There's also a possibility that the reasoning for that is, oh, yeah, well, that's actually because y'all bad. That when no one's staying to add each other, no one did anything particularly noteworthy. So that also makes sense, I guess. But that is something to consider, is if you're having trouble in solo queue, try and get people. It'd be nice if you could just put your own cap on the difficulty that you want. That way you don't have to rely on purposefully lowering your item level if you want to queue something specific. That's one thing. Another thing is that just because of, as I said, the meta of how people queue, the only way to get a Silken Hollow is, except when people are just randomly choosing to do it differently, is to have Silken Hollow be the furthest to the right, be the hardest dungeon. Like, it has to specifically not choose Godfall Quarry, and you have to have low enough item level that Cithral's Fall doesn't appear. Then people are more likely to pick Silken Hollow. And, like, that leaves a lot of open doors. Like, I would say I'm not sure what the best solution is, because I'm almost 100% certain that the developers looked at the possibility of going, well, I mean, we could just let you queue for the specific dungeon you want, but that's going to lead to insanely long queues. Because you would need a tank, 2 DPS, and a healer to all choose Silken Hollow. Like, sure, there'll probably be some that are just, general queuing, but... yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could... Like, the problem is also, like, they could also, like, go, oh, you can ban 3 or something. So you can be like, I don't want Cithral's Fall, and I don't want Godfall Quarry, and I don't want Stormwatch. And that way you could force the highest difficulty dungeon to be Silken Hollow. But... again, if you then have, like, you have a full party that could all play together, but they have all banned Cithral's Fall. One has left Godfall Quarry open, one has left Stormwatch open, and one has left Silken Hollow open. Congratulations, you all get nothing. So it's a little difficult, which is why I think the best solution is that is what they've done. Is just say, well, you're solo queuing, so you all will just have to settle. Although, considering that the meta is pretty much always to pick the highest difficulty thing, maybe they could make it so that you could queue for specific difficulty index. Right? Like, if they just let you queue for difficulty 1, like, that you're allowed to, like, specify if you want. Or, like, choose a range. Again, so you don't have to, like, unequip gear to like, game the system. Because the difficulty you're offered is based on how good your current equipment is. I don't know. I at least can see the logic and reasoning in the system that they have currently. 100%. I get it. But it does make it a little hard if you're looking for a specific dungeon. Unless you're like, see, the funny thing is, the simple solution for everyone involved is genuinely, talk with other human beings, and coordinate something. That's all it takes, technically. Which I think is very funny. Ashmine says, people in Adept are not choosing the rightmost dungeon because the difficulty increase is substantial. Oh, well, fantastic. In that case, maybe it solves itself at higher difficulty levels. And this is, like, straight up just a Contender problem. I mean, there could still be an argument of being able to just, you know, like designate what difficulty index you're interested in instead of like people unequipping gear to force it. Even if people are being more reasonable at higher difficulty ratings. Also, I hope you're doing well, Ashmine. Same to you, Taldemar. Let's see. Neo says it's why I make a point to improve myself and then add good players and hope they think, oh, someone good and doing their job added me. Yay, that's actually a pretty good point, is that if you're good, just adding people, they're more likely to be like, oh, well, that was a good player. That would not be a bad idea to have them on my friends list. I should add them back. You see, Neo also says they did try that before in previous beta, so there is intention with going with this. They tried this in the open beta, so it seems this was better in terms of queue times. Yeah. Indeed. But yeah. It's if once we hit Adept, people are suddenly a lot more reasonable or a lot more careful with their picks, then maybe it's not. Maybe the answer is just Lomao, find a pre-made. Like, just make a pre-made and queue for the duties that you want. Like, I'm just the reference point I have is this. And like healing, I think it's very fun. Honestly, with at least alone, I much prefer it over tanking. The one thing, hilariously, I'm not a huge fan of when tanking is planning routes. Which is a huge problem in a game like this. But I don't have to do that if I'm healing. I just have to follow and just deal with whatever the party does. But I also think that as you can see, I didn't need the rewards here. I didn't need this talent at all to beat Cithral's Fall. So I think that the system that you probably need to find a pre-made in some way or another to be able to like fill out your dungeon list of completions is probably fine, because the big problem in quote-unquote demanding a pre-made is that that's going to be really tough to sell someone on that quickly. Like, quick play, you just play, and then Contender, and then suddenly you have reached Cithral's Fall, and then every group tries to do Cithral's Fall, and if you don't want to do that, then you have a problem. But by the time you're fed up with Cithral's Fall, you're probably going to be in a position where you're invested enough that you wouldn't mind finding out how to get a pre-made. The scary part, again, is that a lot of people on the internet are scared of making a pre-made with strangers. I say, Rand of Cube, hope you're doing well. My suggestion, Neo, if you're having some trouble with routes, is that there is the Fellow Routes website where people are sharing routes. You know, take it with a grain of salt, because even if a route is like highly upvoted, it might not be the smartest route. I tested a route in Godfall Quarry where they basically required you to limbo off the edge of something to like sneak past a pack. And with randos in quick play, yeah, it's not happening. And if you get jumped by that, someone probably dies before you manage to get a hold of it. So like, use it as inspiration, and then if you have some experience as another role, use that to like go, yeah, people are not gonna do that, and then like mix and match where it makes sense for you, right? That would be my suggestion. What can also be difficult is even if you have a pre-made, you might not actually know what other groups are used to. Like if you're like, well, that pull never works, and you've tanked it like 10 times with a pre-made healer, but the problem is either you or the healer. So when you see, like when you're there as a DPS, you see a combo of a tank and a healer that just nails it, no problem. So it can be difficult to know what works and what doesn't work, and what's a skill issue and what's like expecting too much. Hey Ganymede, hope you're doing well. But the good news here is that we got 3 Cithral's Fall clears, and we technically managed to make use of all of the equipment. It's pretty solid. But I do think that this is where we will be rounding off. You're bored, you have work to do? Error. If we get a duplicate Blu-ray reroll, that's a good idea, and just hold it. If you don't have the currency to reroll it, just hold it for later. Like you might be able to use it for something. But yeah, I think that'll be that for tonight. The reason why I'm like a little bit circling here is because I do not know how to go about the whole raiding thing, and I don't think I have I'll have to learn that another day. I'll have to learn that another day. Learn the awesome people to get y'all to. Otherwise, I'll be the weird one that raided someone strange, or maybe not. I don't know. Anyway. If you would want to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link in the chat right there. There you will find the weekly schedule. I usually update it Sunday and Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when I put it out. And if you grab the reminder role in the role assignment room, you'll get a notification whenever I post a video or stream, as well as an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when we go live. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member over on YouTube, you can sub over on Twitch, there's the super chats, there's the bits, and all the goodness. There's also the Ko-Fi link that Aradel GLL put in the chat. It all helps support the channel directly, so I can focus on doing stuff like this with all of you. So thank you so much for the support. But that'll be it from me tonight. So good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye!